greatest country in the world.
Soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen.
You are our greatest weapon of all.
First step in solving any problem is recognizing there is one.
It's time we started talking. Pain isn't something we call.
All we can ever do for our heroes is remember them, and they gave up two lives, the one they were living and the one they would have lived. They gave up everything for our country, for us. They prayed for freedom and justice.
Some veterans not getting the timely care that they need. Less than 1% of Americans serving in uniform. Good news is that in recent years we've made historic investments to boost the VA budget.
What is it? Why should we care?
We should care about press freedom
Because we were informed.
In democratic societies, free, diverse, and pluralist media enable public debates and are essential checks
You don't
on
look
power.
satisfied. Let's discuss.
Hey guys, welcome to Vet to Vet, new episode.
Hey.
As a short reminder, Vet to Vet is a non-profit educational project dedicated to assist veterans with adjustment to civilian lifestyle and to provide assistance in obtaining your VA and other available benefits you have earned. So today's topic about ankle tendonitis. It's a condition in which the tissue connecting muscle to bone becomes inflamed. And this inflammation can cause pain and a limitation of motion. The joints in your body are connecting force. The joints in your body are the connecting force that gives you the ability to move without discomfort. But when you suffer from tendonitis, the joints can't function properly. So it's pretty much kind of inflammation going on. So let's go into the topic.
So the muscular system is vast and complex, consisting of muscles, tendons, ligaments, joints, and bones. Thus, a single injury to the ankle can cause multiple issues. Because of this complexity, the VA simplified the rating system for musculoskeletal conditions to focus on the resulting disability from a condition or a group of conditions existing in the same body part. To honor the pyramiding principle, only a single rating can be given for conditions of the ankle with a few exceptions. If a nerve condition also exists in the ankle, then that can be rated separately under one of the lower nerve codes since the nervous system is separate and distinct. VA SRD offers ratings for the following musculoskeletal conditions of the ankle joint, ankle replacements, tarsal joints, musculoskeletal diseases, injuries to the talus and heel bones. In reality, the majority of ankle conditions will be rated on limitation of motion since this is the most common symptom of these conditions that result in a measurable disability. But other rating options exist to rate the ankle conditions that cause other forms of disability. If a condition is not directly listed, it is rated under the code that best describes it or as dominant symptom. The majority will be rated as limitation of motion.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about ankle tendonitis. So what kind of inflammation is that?
Ankle tendonitis is the inflammation of one or two of the tendons that surround the ankle joint. Tendons are thick bands of tissue that connect muscle to bone and enable movement of joints. The foot and ankle are connected by two preonal tendons that run behind the rear bone of the ankle, the fibula, and connect on either side of the foot. The main function of these tendons is to stabilize the foot and ankle and protect them from injury. When one or both of these tendons become inflamed, the resulting condition is called ankle tendonitis. Signs and symptoms of ankle tendonitis include the following: aching pain on the outside and back of the ankle, swelling, tenderness, warmth around the ankle, pain during physical activity, walking, prolonged standing, things like this, pain when turning the foot inward, and pain when pushing off the ball of the foot. The most common causes of tendonitis of the ankle are overuse, traumatic injury, and wearing the wrong type of shoes over a prolonged period of time. Treatments for ankle tendonitis depend on the severity of the condition. Some doctors may recommend a combination of rest, ice, compression, and elevation. In some cases, physical therapy may be required. Physical therapy for tendonitis usually includes passive modalities, for example, heat, ultrasound, soft tissue massage, manual therapy, like hands-on techniques to mobilize joints and loosen the tightness. Range of motion exercises and strengthening exercises like resistance bands, weights, and exercise balls used to build up strength in the ankle. In the most severe cases, surgery may be required to repair the tendons.
So, like many veterans suffer from ankle tendonitis due to the physical demands of active duty military service. And oftentimes, veterans' active duty service requires them to be on their feet most of the day. And during this time, veterans may be engaged in fitness-related activities and jobs that require a lot of physical activities. And such jobs and activities may persist throughout the duration of the service, and thereby leading to overuse. It's also important to note that veterans are usually completing these physical demanding activities in military issued boots, which can often lead to other foot conditions. And finally, veterans may be involved in an accident resulting in a traumatic injury to the ankle. For example, veterans involved in parachuting accidents often report ankle injuries later in life, and such injuries could then lead to tendonitis. So how do we establish a service connection for ankle tendonitis?
To establish service connection on a direct basis, veterans must satisfy 3 requirements. Specifically, veterans must have a current diagnosis of ankle tendonitis, evidence of an in-service event, injury, or illness, and a medical nexus linking their diagnosed condition to the in-service occurrence. Typically, the 3rd requirement, the medical nexus, is satisfied by attending the compensation and pension exam, in which a VA healthcare provider or a VA contracted healthcare provider opines that the veteran's ankle tendonitis is at least likely as not due to their time in service. However, veterans have the right to obtain private medical opinions as well. This may be especially helpful in cases where the veteran's CMP exam yields an unfavorable result.
So how does VA rate ankle tendonitis?
Once service connection is established, VA will assign a disability rating depending on the severity of the condition. Ankle tendonitis is usually rated under the 38 CFR 4.71 Schedule of Ratings musculoskeletal system under the diagnostic code 5270 or 5271. Under diagnostic code 5270, ankle tendonitis is rated according to the ankylosis of the ankle. For example, abnormal stiffening and immobility. As it follows, 40% in plantar flexation at more than 40 degrees or in dorsal flexion at more than 10 degrees or with abduction, inversion, or the deformity from the bones. 30% in plantar flexation between 30 and 40 degrees or in dorsal flexation between 10 and 0 degrees. 20% in plantar flexation less than 30 degrees. On the other hand, if it is rated under the diagnostic code 5271 limited motion of the ankle, the rating criteria is as follows: 20% for marked limitation of motion and 10% for moderate limitation of motion. So the different bigger parts there is the moderate or higher to get the 20%.
And you can also have a secondary service connection to tendonitis. While the most way for tendonitis to develop is through repetitive motion, it can sometimes be caused by an injury. And if the initial injury was related to your time in the military, you can file for both conditions under primary and secondary service connection.
So for instance, let's say that you broke your left knee due to a direct blow during a routine training session. After the knee injury was healed, you developed both chronic bone pain and tendonitis. Under the VA disability rating system, you can claim the bone pain as a primary service connection and the tendonitis as a secondary. The VA disability rating for the knee tendonitis would reflect this. To file a claim for this, you would need to have a recent diagnosis of tendonitis as well as an official statement from your doctor that links the primary and secondary medical conditions together. It's a similar process as the primary connection, but you'll need to make it clear to the doctor how one is related to the other.
So, service connection by aggravation. What if you were diagnosed with tendonitis before service?
The VA may still approve disability claims even if you were diagnosed with a medical condition prior to joining the service. The technical term these types of cases is service connection by aggravation. If your condition was made worse by your time in service, then it will count towards your overall disability rating. However, this can be difficult to prove for tendonitis because tendonitis has a tendency to get worse over time. Regardless of whether you're in the military or not, in this case you'll likely need to show that the tendonitis progressed faster than the expected rate due to the physical demands of the service.
So, what about evidence for tendonitis claims and appealing under the new Appeals Modernization Act system?
The evidence for tendonitis is generally the inflammation or irritation of the joint. The doctor may conduct a number of tests, including imaging through X-rays or MRIs, in order to prove this condition. They will consider how different tasks affect the joints and whether the in-service incident was likely to have caused the tendonitis. Stiffness, swelling, and reported pain along with any internal imaging will be compared against the incident described during service to assess the likelihood of this connection. If the VA doctor does not agree with either your or your doctor's statements, the Appeals Modernization Act, the AMA, allows you to challenge the unfavorable case. You'll have 3 ways to do this depending on your preferred path. 1, you can submit additional evidence, the X-rays, second doctor's opinion, further remarks from your original doctor to the regional office to strengthen your tendonitis claim. And that would be under the supplemental, the 20-0000995 form. The appeals to the VA board directly with this opinion under the AMA, you can skip the regional office entirely and go straight to the higher authority and talk to the board. That is the 10182 form, and you could talk directly to the board and see what they think, and sometimes you have better odds when you talk to a judge face to face. Or you could request a different review from a specialized party at the regional office. Your case will be considered by another person at the regional office, one who will likely have more experience with the tendonitis. This one is the higher level review, the 0996 form. The only difference with the 96 form compared to the others is you can't add anything. So this one, you're just basically saying, I gave you everything that should have been awarded and you guys denied it, so I want you to look at it again. And you have good odds, but play that game and look at why they deny you and go from there. Don't throw away those denial letters.
Mm-hmm. So that's it for today's topic. And as always, do you want to suggest a book, great movie or stuff?
Yeah, so this book right here is Super Intelligence by Nick Bostrom. Pretty wild, all about AI and the future of all this technology and the things you got to think about. So it's not just necessarily about AI, but more about understanding the past of the future and strategies and things like that. Very interesting book, though.
Yeah, let's hope that we get with a good regulation for future AI implementation in our life, which apparently we don't have now.
Yeah.
And quote or words of wisdom of the day.
We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give.
Said by Winston Churchill. That's it, folks. Thank you for listening. Until next time, over and out.
Thank you.